If you're a Training Peaks user, you might want to watch this one. If you're confused by any of the metrics, particularly the performance management chart, this may help. Training Peaks Performance Management Chart is a handy tool to track fitness, fatigue and form. A couple of examples coming up on the screen now. Example number one is of an athlete who started training with us a number of months ago. And as you can see from the upward trajectory of the blue part of the graph, which is CTL, which we'll come back to later, their progression has been pretty linear. Example number two is of an athlete, in this case a racing cyclist who had been training for a number of years, then unfortunately had some medical problems and had to have surgery. And you can see that decline in CTL over that period, and then the uptake in CTL with the renewed consistency post the operation and recovery. So how is this graph generated? It's generated by training stress score of individual sessions, abbreviated to TSS. Definition coming up on the screen now. But in essence, TSS is the amount of stress, training stress, or load from any given session, and are represented on the performance management chart as the little red dots. It also looks at intensity, and intensity is measured as IF. They're the little blue dots on the performance management chart. Again, there's a definition of intensity factor or IF on the screen now, but intensity factor is what it says it is. It's a measurement of how intense any particular session is, and it's calculated against your normalized power or pace against your threshold values. CTL, or chronic training load, is a statistical representation of fitness. So when we talk CTL, we talk in ramp rate, so how quickly or how many number of points we are adding to that CTL on a weekly or monthly basis. And it's represented on the performance management chart as the blue linear graph. ATL, or acute training load, in this case it is the purple line graph that you can see on the performance management chart, and this is badged as fatigue. Now, slight proviso with that labeling is it's being used in a clinical sense of how much fatigue that athlete is exposed to, not necessarily how fatigued they're feeling, although the more load, likely the more fatigued that athlete will be. So there will certainly be a correlation between that, but it's looking at acute training load. So it's the amount of load that that athlete is currently under. TSB, or training stress balance, again here labeled as form, that is represented on the performance managed chart as the orange shaded area. And form is an important one. What form is indicating to us is how that athlete has adapted to that training load. We can use that when peaking into an event to make sure that that athlete is properly rested, recovered, and adapted to their training ahead of their targeted event. Very quick description of the performance management chart, just to give you an idea what the metrics are indicating, what they're showing. If you'd like to understand more about how you could use this information to drive your training or to avoid pitfalls around overtraining, and how to use this information to peak into events, please drop us a DM, drop us an email, and we'd be happy to have a detailed, in-depth conversation with you relevant to the situation that you're currently in.